Being good Republicans, we know you probably do not support the use of eminent domain, the taking of an individual's private property for the benefit of another individual or corporation. What will you do to protect the rights of individual property owners in North Carolina?
Because I worked in the Supreme Court for a long time, I read all of their decisions with greater or lesser disgust. And one of the most reprehensible of those decisions was the Kelo decision, which, for those of you who don't remember it, said that the city of Bridgeport, Connecticut could take this woman's home away from her and give the property to a private developer who had said, we're going to build a hotel and do nice things that Bridgeport will be very happy with. Well, that's not what the Constitution of the United States says. It says property may be taken for public purposes, quote unquote, and then just compensation must be paid. Well, a road is a public purpose. A public hospital is a public purpose. An office building for the county is a public purpose. But a development by a private developer is not a public purpose. That was a 5-4 decision. The deciding vote was from Justice O'Connor, and many of her later decisions in her career, she went Hollywood. She liked to be praised by the people at the cocktail parties in Georgetown. She started as a staunch conservative who believed in the Constitution and wound up as a sloppy liberal who believed in herself. I'm glad she's gone. I'm glad Justice Alito has replaced her. Now, there's not a lot that the House can do about mistakes on the Supreme Court. We don't get to vote to ratify their appointments. What we can do, and we should do, is strip their jurisdiction when they're really messing up on things like the Ten Commandments in public places. We in the House have the power to take their jurisdiction away. When children are playing with matches, you spank them and you take the matches away. We need to take the matches away from the Supreme Court. And that jurisdictional thing is the first thing I would introduce in Congress.
Did you notice they strengthened the timekeeping crew here? This is one of the reasons that we need people in office who treat the playbook seriously and do not practice selective ethics. Then when it's convenient, we lay this thing down. When it's convenient, we pick this thing up. You hold on to it consistently as a states rights issue. And I can tell you this, the greatest erosion, as a city councilman, the greatest erosion of personal freedoms in America today is occurring at the local level. And that's where your commissioners, town councilmen, other folks, sheriff, everybody have to fight to uphold this. The Fifth Amendment is very clear. We choose to ignore it sometimes because it's convenient. I'll give you a perfect example in Western North Carolina, the Steep Slopes Ordinance, which basically has local government saying, for all kinds of nice reasons, we get to come up and take your private property rights away from you without just compensation. That's a violation of the playbook. And I will not do that. And I will be consistent in not doing it. And I will eliminate it when Congress does it. Thank you.
Americans get in the way of Congress. Congress really loves to jerk us around. And they do it a lot. This is one of the ways they do it. Taxes, whatever. There are a lot of ways that they forget who they work for. And for me, this election is all about reconnecting the government to the people. If there's any issue that's at the top of the list, it ought to be this one. The Supreme Court decision is a travesty. It's an affront to Americans to have us told that we can't own our property in the way that the Constitution guarantees that we can own our property. What's up with that? I have no idea. But I do know that the government is an indication of how big the gulf is between the people we've sent to Congress and us over issues that are critical to America's character and nature as a country. This issue needs to be revisited by the Supreme Court. This issue needs to be
sent back to the Congress with a reminder that private property rights are sacrosanct. If you're going to use eminent domain, it has to be for reasons that have already been articulated, you know, like real public interests, like roads and so forth, not giving property that's rightfully owned by citizens to some business. Under those circumstances, the Congress has once again, and the Supreme Court, and the government in general, has failed us. That's what we need to fix. We can't let them do that any longer, or we will risk our future as a nation.
What is your biggest obstacle in defeating Congressman Heath Shuler?
How about the media? The media is promoting Mr. Shuler as somebody he's not. And a lot of people are paying attention to the media, as they do with an uncritical eye on just about every issue. The Constitution actually talks about an independent media in the First Amendment. But it's independence from the government, not independence from us. And I don't quite understand why we have a media that acts in the interest of its own organization itself rather than our own as a people. So the media goes about promoting Mr. Shuler because he's one of their darlings. He belongs to that side of that party that's very liberal. And the media keeps telling us he's a conservative and that he's got this wonderful bills to secure the borders and things like that. But the media wants us to believe that that's really what's going on. Even Mr. Shuler says the Republicans have stopped his bill from coming to a vote on the floor. And the media just reports that as though it's fact. And so the three of us, I know, have said, oh no, it's not. And who's he kidding? But the media will make it very difficult for us to stand in front of the public and say, Mr. Shuler is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because he comes here and talks about how conservative he is, but he helped to seat Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House. The second vote he took was against funding the troops. On and on and on and on. Pro-union votes, universal health care votes, anti-tax credit votes for health care, on and on and on, liberal after liberal vote. The media will make our lives miserable when we stand up here and tell the truth, and they won't report it.
There are lots of hurdles, money. A big one is illuminating the fact that there are two Heath Shulers, one in Washington and votes as a liberal, another in Western North Carolina comes back and talks as a conservative. There are a lot of things, but I'll give you a succinct answer, and it's from the heart. I have to do everything in my power to make sure that it's not me leading the way, it's not you leading the way, but I put God in front of me and follow Him. Thank you.
Well, of course it will take money and it will take people. But the toughest thing I think I face in being Heath Shuler is chasing him into a corner and forcing him to debate. One of the things that you are here, and I hope you enjoyed it, was to see how we perform with respect to each other. And from that you can figure out how we would perform with respect to Heath Shuler, the accidental incumbent. And if you conclude that I can run him around the barn twice and up a tree, then give me the opportunity and I will do exactly that. The card of mine, which I left on the table, so that photograph was taken in Coliseum Gorge, has an address on it. Go to that address and you'll find all of our televised debates. You can have the three of us at home in your living room and cut us off at will. But the main thing is you'll see us one against the other, and then you can decide which of us would best represent Macon County.